Why do they want to have it placed, given the Torah upon the heavens? Because they said that there's no bittul in the down here. The bittul that's supposed to, that even Moshe Rabbeinu, that was the most humble person, Asher al Pnei Hadama, his bittul did not come to the bittul of the malachim because he's down here in a physical body. That's why it says that he was on of ma'od mikala adam asher al pnei ha'adama. Therefore, since his bittul was not on the same level like the bittul of even the malachim, so the malachim said, place and give your glory upon the heavens. He wanted that the Torah should be given up there. So Hashem, how did he seemingly punish them for their insubordination? He punished them by burning them up. What was the significance of that? Hashem was showing with that burning them up in the Maimed Alter Rebbe that speaks about the dream. So in that same Maimed Alter Rebbe gets into this topic about the burning them up, was showing that even his small finger, which is the level of Sfiras HaMalchus, even that small gili of Sfiras HaMalchus, when he gave it to the Malachim more than they were able to handle, or more that's set up usually for them to handle. So that extra type of that extra type of energy and vitality and life force from the etzba ktana that Hashem was hoishit caused them to be completely lose themselves. Why? Because that's the whole idea that even the malachim are not the ultimate level of bittul. So this is the point that Hashem was telling them and showing them. You think that the Torah is more shaykh for you because you have a great old bittul. You don't have it. So the Rebbe is now going to ask, as we mentioned yesterday, why is it important for us to know this, especially as one of the crucial stories concerning Matan Torah? According to what it says in the Maimer in general about the idea of dreams and the revelation in dreams, that some aspects of the dreams could have to do with Hirhure Liboy, that you have the dreams are enclosed into are a miniature nevuah, a miniature prophecy that has to do with the person's that has to do with the person's own oisius, just like a navi says things in his own oisius, and just like different Rishonim will say the same halach in different oisius. Then there's a level that's completely like a level of nes, completely a level of a miracle. That this level of the miracle is something that's a revelation, shaloi choshav me'olam, like the Gemara says. There are dreams that the person never even imagined, never even thought about. Those type of dreams, that's a higher level, that's a higher type of revelation than than even the dreams that are like having it bits of nevuah. So based on this, based on what it says earlier in the Alter Rebbe's Maimer, we'll be able to understand what the point is b'chalal of speaking about the malachim's argument and being burnt up and being shown that they cannot handle this great revelation. So he says again, the top of the fourth page of the Maimer, according to what it says in the Maimer, you can close the understood the general idea, what's related to us about the complaint of the Malachim, the Lachura seemingly Torah Nizaris Moladaber Afil Begnus Behemet. The Torah is careful from speaking, even when it comes to the embarrassment of a non-kosher animal. Something negative about non-kosher animal, the Torah doesn't say, like by the famous thing by Noach, that it says that there was the Behema HaTahoira, and the Behema Asherei Nana Tahoira came to Noach. Instead of, and the Torah said extra letters, like the Gemara points out, which the Torah is always very careful about the exact amount of letters, not saying an extra word or an extra letter. And here it says a whole bunch of extra letters, that it says a nana tahira instead of tameya. Why? Because when even about an animal, the Torah doesn't want to speak in a fashion of something that's negative. So if so, Why, when it comes to the Malachim, does it speak about their negative, their negativity and their incapability of receiving the oil? First of all, why does the Torah relate to us the complaint of the Malachim? And then the Rebbe has another thing. There's no practical application. It's not like the Malachim still have a hold on the Torah and we're busy wrestling with them the whole time. The Malachim are saying it's ours, and we say it's not. It's a done deal. It's a court case that took place. It's an argument that took place. The argument was settled. It's in the past. Especially since they were already defeated with the point that the Hashem stretched out his finger and burnt them up. So therefore, what difference does it make to speak about and to relate what they complained about when we don't even speak a negative thing about an animal? The idea behind this is from the fact that Hashem stretched out his finger and he burnt them up. That itself, just like in the simple sense that prior to Matan Torah, or as a part of the Matan Torah process, they complain, says, "What are you giving the Torah to them? What's Moshe Rabbeinu doing here to receive the Torah?" And Hashem said, don't argue with me, burnt them up. So just like in the simple sense, it brought about Matan Torah. So therefore, in the spiritual connection, there's an association between the receiving of the Torah, the giving of the Torah, and this entire event. And the story of their complaint and what Hashem burnt them up is a lesson, and it's a directive in our service. What we need to derive from Matan Torah. This teaches us what a great lesson of how we are supposed to now take and internalize the concept of Matan Torah. Essentially, Torah is beyond the chain order of descent of the worlds. V'yarda descended down here below into our world, like the Alter Rebbe says at the beginning of Tanya. And concerning this Malachim complaint, that down here below, because of the lack of bittul, they are not a vessel for Torah. So here's what the Malachim said. You took this awesome thing. You took this amazing, powerful thing, this thing that's totally beyond the world, Hashem, and you're sending it down here into such a low place. So the Malachim protested, and they said, this world is not a keli for Torah. There is no bittul in this world. Even Moshe Rabbeinu was only humble from every person in this world, but he didn't reach the level of humility of the Malachim. So this world is completely incapable of being a receptacle for Torah. And therefore, Veishivu lahem, and the response to the Malachim was, Shaidei hagilui oir atzmoi nasa hakli. This is a very interesting point. The Rebbe is adding another component to this idea that Hashem stretched out his finger and burnt them up. We said that the stretching out of the finger was a greater revelation than what was capable for the Malachim to receive. So Hashem answered them, you should know, I'm going to give them such a great oir, that very great oir itself, that powerful light itself, will cause that the vessel itself should come about. That is how the vessel is going to come into existence. The Rebbe says, Al Pi Kabbalah, there is the concept that the vessels come about through a greater revelation of light. I think it says when the makif bounces off the oir panimi, so then that creates the kli. I think that's what he's referring to. And that is the inner meaning and the deeper meaning of the Hashem burning them up with a small finger. And that's the idea. That Hashem stretched out his small finger and he burnt them up. The Masha Hoshit, the fact that he stretched it out, this light is incomparable to their vessels. It's not on the level of the vessels of the Nivroim, of the Malachim, excuse me. Umitzad oirze atzmoi nase behem habitl v'mitzias. We look at the Sarfon that they were burnt up as a negative. The Rebbe looks at it now as a positive. They became completely bottled. So Hashem was indicating to them that this revelation, this powerful Gili Oir of Hoshit HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as it's boyek down, he stretched out a small finger, he gave them more than they usually receive. That brought them to a state where they burnt up, not in a negative burning up, not in a destructive burning up, but they were burnt up, meaning they reached a level of bittul and mitzias. The concept over here is a very powerful concept. Therefore, the Rebbe is saying, this is why the Torah was given down here, despite our lack of bittul. That's the idea of the lesson from Matan Torah. That sometimes we need to begin from a revelation of light that's beyond the vessels. And the light itself affects the refinement of the vessels. One could say this is the idea of Yutas Kislev that we're experiencing today. That Yutas Kislev is about a great revelation of the highest levels of Primus HaTorah, that even in previous generations, the world was not worthy of it. For sure, in the Choshech Kafel Mechupel, like the Rebbe always talks about it, the double and quadruple darkness of our days, of the heels of Mashiach, for sure, we're not worthy of it. But sometimes just the opposite. We need to give out that powerful light, and that itself, that great light itself, that will refine the vessels. Even though we're not vessels, but the great light of Primus HaTorah will affect and refine the vessels as well. And therefore, we find this. You sit down with a person that may know nothing, never learned Gemara, never learned Chumash, doesn't know how to read even Lashon Kodesh, Hebrew. Still know, we sit down, we learn with him Tanya, and it affects the person. How come? Because that's just a great, powerful revelation of light. This is also what this will also be understood. What he explains in Torah Parshas Vayeshev, that the Maimer titled Parshas Vayeshev, titled Shira Milos, we were like dreamers. That over there we said that at the beginning of the Maimer, that many of the Mamorim of this week and of Parshas Miketz speak about dreams, because Parshas Vayeshev is about Yosef's dreams, Parshas Miketz is about Pari's dreams, and so the Maimer is entitled in Torah that Shira Milos, that what we say, that we speak about the time of Golus, that we are like dreamers. So the Maimer over there in Torah explains what is the concept of dreams. When a person sees that during davening he becomes inspired, he becomes very excited about godliness, he has a love for Hashem, and he's impassioned about Hashem, and so on. But after davening he sees that inspiration leaves him, and he's immersed again in physical matters. The emphasis over here is the munach shuv binyanim gashmim, not that during davening he's in a spiritual environment, and after davening he's in a material environment. I don't think that was the point over there in the Maimer. The point is, what is he invested in? What is he immersed in? His immersion, his what he's embedded in is during davening he's very excited, and then when it comes to work and eating, all of a sudden that's his, if not his passion, that's where his interest lies, that's where his preoccupation lies, which seems to be contradictory. So the Alter Rebbe encourages the person. The person shouldn't think, well, I'm a hypocrite. Well, maybe my whole davening is worthless. Maybe I didn't really mean it by davening, because give a look, the proof is in the pudding. Let's see what's going on after davening. So the Alter Rebbe says that is not at all the attitude that we should be. The Alter Rebbe encourages us and says, Al yipa leva adam olav. A person should not feel bad. Ki kol klolos mana golos inyan hayinu kecholmim. The general time of Golus, we're called, we were like dreamers. The idea of a dream is you could have two opposites. So the same thing, a Yid, he could have two opposites, that by davening he feels inspired, and after davening he's involved in the physical world. By Chassidus Verbrengen he can feel inspired, and then he goes to work, and he's like, that's what he's involved in. So don't think that the Fabrengen or the davening or the Shabbos experience was like worthless and useless and has no purpose in it. No. This is just the nature of the situation that we're in right now. The nature of Golus is that we have the combination of the two opposites. That is the point that the Alter Rebbe says in Torah. So the Rebbe asks on that, seemingly, what type of consolation is this? Was das für eine Nechama? Shetamid niakach betadema amuka, that constantly will be so in a deep slumber. I don't know what this hinnerflet is. I grew up speaking Yiddish. I don't know what this sentence is, this phrase is. Das without knowing what's going on with us. We're like flitting around. We don't know what's going on. Maybe it means like chickens are flying around and they're just jumping around from one place to another place. That sometimes he's like this and sometimes he's like that. What does that mean? What is this a comfort? The Alter Rebbe is trying to console us, and he's just saying, well, this is the nature of the beast. This is what it's like in Golus. Again, the simple meaning of the Alter Rebbe is, don't put down your davening. Don't put down your inspiration and say, it wasn't real. Why should I go to the Fabrengen anyway? Why should I try to daven anyway? What my experience on Shabbos anyway was not a real experience. That's the simple meaning of the Alter Rebbe. But the Rebbe says, ultimately, it's not really a consolation. It's depressing. It's like, I'm jumping around this way and that way. But the idea behind this is, from because of the revelation of light. As we said before, the end of the previous paragraph, that the revelation of light will eventually cause the refinement of the vessel, just like Hashem stretched out his small finger and burnt them up. The same thing, the Torah coming down here into this world is going to bring us to a greater bittul. The same thing, the davening, the fabrengen, the spiritual experience will eventually break through and affect that our vessel will be changed and we will not be as immersed in the physical. The inyan achaloim who gili armal maila, like we said before, that the dream is a revelation from above, and not just any revelation from above, but sometimes it could be so high. Like we explained previously, the inyan achaloim u'mashaloi choshav zayis ma'olam. The idea of a dream is even things that he never thought before, which means that's completely beyond his vessels. It's not an idea from above that became enclosed in his language, but like we explained. The highest level of dream is that it's completely beyond his vessels, similar to miracles beyond nature. And another thing we said before, that this idea of the dream that is completely beyond his vessels, similar to miracles, be totally beyond nature, completely outside of nature. That's why the dream can bridge two opposites. That's why we also explained in the previous page that a dream can have in it both true things and it can have falsehoods. Either the dream should be true or it should be false. This mishmash of both together, how does this happen? Because the kivin since, as we just now said, it's the dream is completely beyond his vessel, and that's why we're saying it's even from things that he never thought about before. Even when he is connected with things that are false, lies, things that are untrue, that does not disrupt and disturb and prevent the great Gilui from above. Meir Etzloi Agilui Oyer Shalamayla. It shines by him this revelation of light from above. So that's the same point like by davening. I can have the seemingly false interest after davening, but that in no way impacts my experience by the davening, by the fabrengen, by other inspiring event. Like it's explained over there in Torah in that Maimer that we just now quoted, that the inspiration that he experiences during davening are not false imaginings. He's not experiencing any type of false things over here, but rather, if the davening is not false, if the davening is true, if his inspiration during davening is true, how does that live together in the same body, in the same vessel, in the same heart and mind that a moment later is invested in his eating and his working? But rather because it's above nature, so it can combine two opposites. That because of the fact that Hashem, any impossibility is impossible to say by him. In other words, he's beyond any limitations whatsoever. So the light shines by him, even when from the perspective of his vessels, he's not worthy of this. And even more so, shall soif kol soif eventually eventually this revelation of light itself, like we said before, the greater revelation of light burnt him up, brought him to bittul metzius. The same thing, the great revelation of light of his davening is eventually going to remove these limitations of his vessels, that the vessel is contributing to the falsehood, etc. The canal being like we said before concerning Hashem stretching out his finger and burning them up. This is also what he explains in our original Maimer Dalter Rebbe, that a dream is similar to a miracle. The Inyan Hanisim Yeshnam Gambes Managolus. The idea of miracles is to be found even in time of Golus. Hazman the time that it says Shira Milas, that we were like dreamers. Though the miracles in the time of Golus are in a concealed fashion, just the opposite. They are actually much greater miracles than revealed and open miracles. Like it says in the pasuk, that he makes great wonders for himself. What's that mean? The simple meaning is by himself. Chassidus teaches for himself, meaning there's such great wonders, top of the last page, that only Hashem himself is aware of these wonders. Not only Chassidus, the Gemara also explains it this way, meaning that the miracles that are enclosed in nature are great wonders. And the drawing down of these wonders, this eventually influences that the person reaches a bittul in his nefesh, just like the chaloim brings the bittul. Like it says in the Maimer, that when a person sees a miracle and he becomes excited by it, we said earlier, that's the idea of the katnus, is the excitement from it, and the godless is the greatness of the miracle. And then the Rebbe concludes the connection with Yutas Kislev, even though this didn't begin with Yutas Kislev, this Maimer. So too it's in the miracle of Yutas Kislev and the revelation of Torah Chassidus. That the revelation that took place in Yutas Kislev and the miracles of Yutas Kislev and the revelations of Torah Chassidus will eventually affect that the kli will reach a level, the vessel will become bottle. That is when he sees the miracle Not that he calculates in Tafshin Chav Daled was 160 and so much years. It was 165 years since the Nes of Yutas Kislev. So he has to. So the Rebbe is like playing off the word of the Alter Rebbe. He sees the miracle, and the miracle of Yutas Kislev is something that he sees. A person needs to look at the miracle of Yutas Kislev and become excited from it now, and look at it as if it's now. That this excitement that a person experiences on Yutas Kislev many years later, as if he's seeing the miracle now, that purifies and nullifies the person, and it causes in the level of Katan Shebegadlus. That from this he comes to a greater revelation, the godless of the godless that will become revealed in the future.